Welcome to this DDi CADcast. My name is Quentin Rock, and today we will cover the user interface enhancements to SolidWorks 2014. So let's get started. The first area we want to take a look at in user interface is accessibility. There's been a couple enhancements to this that just make the SolidWorks environment a little bit different. First thing you'll notice on the side here is I have a screenshot of SolidWorks 2013 versus 14. If you notice in the property manager, next to the selections box there's that little cube telling you to pick an edge or a face or various items. It kind of prompts you to pick stuff. In 2013 it had a greenish color, and in 2014 it has a bluish color. And what that does is it provides a sharper contrast in the colors, so the many SolidWorks users with color blindness can distinguish one icon from another. So if we just jump into SolidWorks, you'll see that this little mate icon here over in the property manager is now blue. So you're going to see that throughout SolidWorks in general. The other area of accessibility to take a look at is in the clear font. So SolidWorks, if you go to your control panel, SolidWorks is now taking advantage of the Windows Clear type font a little bit better, the software technology there. So I'm in my control panel, appearances and personalization. It might be in a different spot in different OSs. This is Windows 8. But if you have this turned on, you're going to notice the text and everything's a little bit crisper than it was in previous versions of of SolidWorks. The next area of user interface enhancements in 2014 to take a look at is applying standard mates from a context toolbar. I'll jump into SolidWorks. And context toolbars, for those of you unfamiliar with that term, is when you click on something you get this sort of pop-up context toolbar. So it can go away if you click on it, you don't use it. If you click on something and you hover over it, it comes to life. So it's sort of that shadow toolbar functionality. So what's new is the ability to come in and say, let's zoom in a little bit here, Control, select a couple items, and now you'll notice that underneath that context toolbar you also get a quick mates toolbar. So instead of having to click the mate button to jump over and then hit OK to add the mate, you can add it even quicker in 2014. I can just go ahead and click concentric and it's already added that mate. Again, one of the nice things about this is I can select an item. If I need to rotate or zoom or anything like that, hold down Control, select the second item, and as long as I hover over this, I can get very quickly add mates without having to go into the mate command, hit the green check, or right click and hit OK. Just for reference, inside of Tools Customize is the context toolbar settings. If for some reason you didn't want those context toolbars, you can shut them off, and you'll notice there's now one for the quick mates as well. Our last item on this slide to look at is the Feature Manager Design Tree response to selections. And what this is inside of SolidWorks you've always had this option in Tools Options Feature Manager to scroll selected item into view. This was very helpful. What it did is basically if you select anything out in the graphics area, face of one of your parts, it will jump to that item in the feature tree. And that was really nice. It's very helpful to try and find an item that may be buried in a large feature tree for your large assemblies. What's changed in 2014 is it remembers the settings before you selected on that item. So you'll notice I'm at the top of my feature tree here. You can see a lot of stuff is expanded out, a lot of assemblies. And I'll just go ahead and click a part that I know is buried somewhere in there. I'll click on this face and you'll see that it's scrolled to that item. You see it down there at the bottom. What's different about 2014 is when I click off into space, you'll notice that the feature tree jumps back to where it was before. So it just remembers where the selected item was or where the feature tree was before you selected the item. Our next user interface enhancement is the ability to include smart mates in the command manager. And I feel like this one needs a little setup. In previous versions, many people don't realize there's actually a smart mate command. It's not just the alt drag, although that is termed smart mates as well. If you go to the move component, you'll notice in any version or earlier versions of SolidWorks, you've always had this smart mate capability. but it was only inside the Move Component tool. So for example, you'll notice when I go back to the Move Component tool, I can see SmartMates. Notice it's titled Move Component. As soon as I click SmartMates, it's actually a command. It's been in there for a long time. And the way it works, just for review, is you double click any entity and click the next entity. So you double click on the first mate selection and then click the next one and then go ahead and add the mate. So it's a very nice little tool that was hidden in there. Again, it allows you to rotate. If you use alt drag, rotating while you're alt dragging and zooming is very difficult to do. It's with one mouse, with a few fingers on your mouse. So that's not new. None of that is new. What is new is the ability to add the Smart Mate command to your toolbars. So it is actually a command now that you can add and activate inside of 2014. So again, with the Smart Mate command, I don't have to go into the Move component anymore. I can double click something, click the next item, and quickly add mates. So the ability to get the Smart Mate command outside of the Move component command is now in 2014. Our next enhancement to take a look at is selecting items by lasso. Let's jump into SolidWorks and kind of explain this. In previous versions, you can do this bulk selection. So let's say I wanted to grab these two circles. I could drag a box around those circles, and then I would have to uncontrol select the other items that got in there. So it was a little bit tedious, and this is a very simple example, I realize, but you can see how a lot of times that box selection doesn't quite work for what you want. You have to unselect a few items to get that to work. In 2014, you now have what's called lasso selection options. And I'm just going to right click and choose it. And what this does is basically allow you to draw a lasso around stuff. So for example, it still preserves the right to left or left to right stuff, selection options. But you'll notice when I drag, I'm starting to draw a contour with the lasso command instead of a box. And I don't even have to close this. It'll close itself. You can see by the green area. When I let go, only the items I want are selected, and it preserves that cross selection versus the left to right, right to left type selection. So now I can quickly set those things to equal. So once again, that's a very quick right click to toggle back and forth between these. It's also adjustable in the Tools Options Display / Selection default bulk selection method has now been added. So if I want box, I can click box or lasso. I like to use it in the right click menu and just use it as I need it. The sticky settings enhancement in 2014 basically just refers to the property manager settings for a lot of the features and operations inside of SolidWorks. And what this does now in 2014, there isn't really much to show here, but a lot of those settings are going to be remembered between sessions and between features. And I put a few examples of that on this slide, the knit surface property manager, the edge flange. A lot of these things, the next time you open that command up, even in the same session, it totally forgot what the settings were for the previous item if you repeated that command. So you'll notice in 2014 a lot more stuff kind of remembers, even between sessions of SolidWorks, remembers what those settings were in the property manager. Our last user interface enhancement to take a look at in SolidWorks 2014 is the text and icon sizes. I'll jump into SolidWorks and kind of explain this. Now you've had some configurability options for the icons and the text inside of SolidWorks for a while. But in 2014 you now have a much higher level of options to configure the button sizes and the text sizes. So for example, I'll just switch it to large so that you can see the difference in the sizes of the icons in there. And I'll switch it back to small so you can see the kind of the default size. The same goes for text. If you'll notice that you can use the operating system scale, or you can switch it to small, medium, and large as well. This is very useful for the high resolution monitors or even the low resolution monitors so that we can adjust it so it's a little more scalable, the higher res or lower res that we get. And if you go to Tools Customize, just to show that it is also available in this menu as well. You can adjust those types of button sizes and text sizes inside the Tools option Customize on the Toolbars tab. Well, that wraps up this CADcast. For more CADcast topics, check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DDiCAD or our tech blog at ddicad.com/techcenter. Thanks for watching.